Today we're going to learn how to make the white Alice in Wonderland flower. So I'm going in with my shamrock green paint. You can get this at Hobby Lobby. And we're going to go ahead and paint the whole mannequin head. We're going to do 3 coats of paint. I don't really worry so much about the backside of the head or the neck because it's going to be covered in felt, but you definitely want to make sure that the front of the face is fully covered. This is what it looks like after the first coat, and this is what it looks like after the 3rd coat. Now that you have the head completely painted, we're going to move on with starting on our petals and our leaves. So we're going to start with our petal template first. We're going to lay that onto a white felt. We're going in with your disappearing ink pen and outlining it onto the white felt. You will need 13 of these petals. Now you can decide if you want to add more or less. It's just that's the amount of petals that I have on my flower. Once you have those fully outlined and cut out, we're going to move on with adding the pipe cleaner. So you're going to take your pipe cleaner, and we're only adding one, and you're going to put it into the center of the petal and take your hot glue and lightly glue it down to the felt. Be very light with the glue. You will burn your fingers if you put too much. Once you have that glued down, take your scissors or whatever you have and cut off the remaining of the pipe cleaner. And you're going to do that for all 13 petals. Once you have those done, we're going to set them aside and we're going to start working on our neck leaves. So I'm going in with my chalk pen to outline these onto the dark Kelly green felt. My disappearing ink pen won't show up on dark fabric, so I definitely use a chalk pen when it comes to doing darker felt. But you're going to outline 15 of these, and once they are fully outlined, we're going to cut them out and start adding our pipe cleaner. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the white petals. We're going to place the pipe cleaner in the center of the leaf, and then we're going to lightly glue it down. And then whatever we have left extra, just go ahead and take your scissors and cut it off. Once you've added pipe cleaners to all 15 of the leaves, we're going to move on to the bigger leaves for the flower. So we're going to take our big leaf template, set that onto our dark green felt, and do the same exact thing. Go in with our chalk marker and outline the template onto the felt. Once you have, I think we're going to be doing six of these. Yeah, we're going to do 6 of these big leaves. And once you have those fully cut out, we're going to move on with adding the pipe cleaner as well. So once you have all 6 cut out, we're going to go in and add the pipe cleaner. It's just going to be one along the center of the leaf, and then lightly take your glue gun and glue it to the felt and then cut off the extra. Now we're going to move on to doing the small petals that are going to lay along the side of her face. And we're only going to need 4. So again, go in with your chalk marker and outline 4 of the small leaves. And then once you have those cut out, throw them to the side because we're going to go on to the leaf that sits on top of her head, the one that gives her bangs. And we're going to go ahead and again outline that with our chalk pen onto the green felt. We only need 1. And then once you have it outlined, go ahead and cut it out. Now it's time to start putting the leaves on. So we're going to first start with the leaf for the top of the head. And I'm just placing it directly on top, making sure that it fits nicely with her forehead. It's not too far back or too far down. Once I have that placed, I'm going to go in with my first white petal and I'm going to center it to her nose. And I'm going to take 2 pins. I'm going to pin 2 at the top so that it stays in place while I go on and do the rest of the petals. Once you have that first one pinned down, what I will do is I'll run my hand down the pipe cleaner and then I'll curve it up at the edge so that it gives this nice like wave look. And then I'll go in with my second petal and I'm lining it up right along the edge of the other one and doing the same thing, putting 2 pins at the top. And then I'll run my hand down the pipe cleaner and curve it up along the tip so that it gives out a nice fan look. Then we're going to go in with our 3rd petal and I'm just layering it underneath that first one that I just did. Again, going in with 2 pins to keep it in place, running my hand along the pipe cleaner to fan it out. And then I'm going to go over onto the other side and do the same thing. 2 pins at the top and then running my hand along the pipe cleaner to fan it out. From there, I'm going to take my 5th petal and I'm going to go back to the top to start filling in on the back side of the head. So I'm going to go a little bit diagonal to the first 2 that I have pinned, and then take 2 pins, pin that one down, and then take your 6th petal and do the same thing on the opposite side. So it kind of looks like that, like a V on the top. And then take your 2 pins, pin that down, and then I'll go through and kind of start to curve them out. So run your hand down the pipe cleaner and then curve them out at the ends. And then from there, I'm going to take my 7th petal, I think it is, place it right in the middle of the 2 petals I just pinned down, and go ahead and pin that in place and curve out the pipe cleaner. And then for the remaining 7 petals that I have left, I'm pretty much just lifting up layers and filling in gaps. So I'm going to just continue to do this so that it looks nice and full, and that you don't see any of her scalp or whatever. And each time that I pin a petal, I just make sure that I run my hands along the pipe cleaner and kind of fan them out again. So I will continue to fill in the front and kind of the back side. And then once you are done with putting in all your petals, this is what it will look like. So now it's going to be time to add the leaves for the head. And I'm just putting 2 on each side now. It's totally up to you. You can add more if you want her to have more, but I'm just kind of framing her face, putting one up high where her temple is and then curving down along her cheekbone. And then I'm just using 1 pin to tack those down. But once I have those done, we're going to move on to the neck leaves. If you have your balloon stand, go and get it, because it will be so much easier to do the leaves for the neck with the head on the stand. If you don't have it, it's okay. You're just going to get a really nice shoulder workout. So our first neck leaf is going to go right underneath her chin. And we're going to just use 2 pins along the base of that leaf to hold it in place. Then we're going to turn her and we're going to put the next one right next to the one that we just pinned along the side of her neck. Pin that in place, turn her to the back and do 1 along the back of her neck. And then your last one will be on the other side of her neck. So you'll have 4 on the first layer. And the shape of the leaf will be like a C or a nice wave. And then before we move down to the second layer, we're going to want to glue everything that we just did. So we're going to go in with our glue gun and we're going to take out 1 pin at a time. So we're going to take a pin out, glue that side down to the neck, and then make sure that it's dry, move on to the next pin, take that out, glue it down, and we're going to do this for all 4 leaves. You're making sure you're taking out a pin at a time because you want to keep where you have placed them. Once they are fully glued down, this is what it will look like. And then now it's time to move on to our second layer of leaves. So you're going to take your next leaf and you're going to drop it down a little bit on the neck. Not all the way down because we have another row to do. A little bit like middle of the neck, and then you're going to pin it, and then you'll take your fingers and curve it so into that C shape. And then you're going to turn your head a little bit, and you're going to place the next leaf right next to the one that you just pinned. And then bend the pipe cleaner so that you have a nice C shape. And then you're going to turn your head again and do the same exact thing. And you'll continue to do it until you get back to that first initial leaf. I believe in the second row you have 5 leaves that you've added. And then once you have them all pinned, we're going to do the same exact thing that we did with the first row. We're going to glue it all to the neck. So you're going to take 1 pin out at a time and then glue it all together. So when you're done gluing, this is what it should look like. And now we're moving on to our last layer of neck leaves. So we're going to take our leaf and we're going to match up the edge to the bottom of the neck. And we're going to pin it with 2 pins. And then you're going to fold the pipe cleaner or mold the pipe cleaner into a C like you've done to the rest of the rows. And then from there, you're going to move on to the next leaf. And the bottom, you will start to overlap your leaves. That's totally fine. You're just kind of filling in the gaps at this point. So you're going to continue to do that around the whole neck. And then, of course, once you have those all pinned onto the neck, we're going to glue them down before we get into the bigger leaves. Again, take 1 pin out at a time and glue down your sides before moving on to the next pin. So when you're done, this is what it will look like. From there, we're going to take our big leaves and we're going to pin one at the front of the neck, one at the side of the neck, one at the back of the neck, and the other one on the side of the neck. That means we have 2 left over, which we will then add to the front of the neck on each side. But before we do that, we want to glue down all of our big leaves first. So again, take out 1 pin at a time before you move on to gluing the rest of the leaf down. Once we have the leaves glued down, we want to give them some shape. We don't want them to just look like they're straight like this. So what I will do is I will make an S shape with the leaves. So I will bunch it up at the top and then bunch it up at the bottom, which will give it a nice wave look. And it will, when you sit it in the pot, it will look really nice, like it's going over the pot's edge. And then with the last 2 leaves, I'm just placing them along both sides of that front leaf. And again, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm pinning them first to make sure that they're in the right spot before I go in and glue them. And then once they're glued down, I'll go back and shape them into that S form. And then from there, we are completely done with the bottom. And we're going to go back up to the top of the head to start gluing down those petals and adding some more detail. So when it comes to gluing the petals, I'm going to work from the bottom and go up. So I'm just going to start with the bottom layers first. I'm doing the same thing that I did with the leaves, where I'm just taking out 1 pin at a time and then gluing so that they're not losing their spot on the head. So you're just going to start at the bottom layer, start gluing them down, and then work your way up to the top. Now, once you get to the top, they're a little bit more layered, so you might have to take out a couple pins at a time to make sure that you get the bottom layers glued first before you put on the top layer. Don't worry about taking them completely off to glue on the leaf that's on the top of her head. I just keep it pinned. You can see right here, the pin is hidden by the petal anyways, so I'm just going to keep it pinned and glue the rest of the petals on top. But once you have them completely glued, we are going to put our head off to the side, and you're going to find your half styrofoam circle and your yellow pom-poms, and we're going to start to create the top piece that goes on the top of her head. So for this top piece, pretty much all you're doing is you're taking pom-poms and you're gluing them one at a time all the way around the styrofoam circle or half circle. And I start at the bottom and I just work my way up to the very top. And you're just putting them close enough so that you can't see any of the white styrofoam. And once you get done, it will look like this. And then we're going to glue this straight on top of the petals. So I'm just going to go in with my glue gun, put glue on the bottom half, and then place it right on top. Now, I am not a fan of the gap that's between the head and the bottom of that styrofoam. Oh, I'm gluing her bangs down a little bit too because they were sticking up. But anyways, I'm not a fan of the gap that's between her head and the yellow part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and use a little bit of my leftover pom-poms, and I'm going to fill in that gap so that now it looks like it's completely connected and not just like floating on her head. And so I'm going to do that along the whole edge. I'm just putting in a lot of glue onto the pom-pom and just stuffing it in there. Once you're done, this is what it will look like. And then from there, we only have 2 more steps and then she's completely done. So I'm going to go back to the leaves that surround her face. Now they're currently pinned right now. I'm going to leave those pins in there. I'm not going to move them. You can't see them anyways, but I am going to add glue to the tops of those leaves. I'm not going to glue it completely down to her face because I like to fan them out a little bit to give them more movement. But once you have those glued down, the next step is going and adding her eyelashes. So again, I got these at Dollar Tree. They are pretty sticky, so just be careful when you're peeling them out of the box because you don't want to rip off any eyelashes. But I'm just using that sticky backing and putting it directly onto her face. I'm not having to go in with any glue or anything. It holds perfectly. But yeah, that's pretty much it for her. Now we're just going to add her into the pot, which I got my pot at Home Depot. It's 2 quarts, and the balloon stand fits perfectly in that size of a pot. Once I have placed her in the pot, I just go back and kind of start pulling her leaves forward and out of the pot just so that they lay nicely over the edge. And then, yeah, I hope you guys liked this tutorial. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And again, you can find the template for the petals and the leaves in my Etsy shop, which is linked in bio.